At my grandmother's funeral reception, my neighbor pulled up with a loudspeaker and blasted Happy by Pharrell Williams over the entire event. When we asked him to stop, he laughed and said, "Grief is overrated." He thought it was funny until the local news covered it, shaming him publicly. He lost his job within a week when his boss recognized him on TV. My name's Ray. I'm from Newberg, Oregon. It's a small town near Portland, mostly quiet. People here respect each other. Or at least they used to. This is about my neighbor Brent. He thought disrespecting my family was funny. He was wrong. My grandmother, Doris, raised me after my parents died when I was 10. She was tough but fair. She worked as a school secretary for 30 years. Everyone in town knew her. She taught me to ride a bike, taught me how to fix things, taught me how to treat people with kindness. She died last June. I still can't say that sentence without feeling a hole inside me. Doris was the strongest person I've ever known. She made it to 89. She passed in her sleep. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. We planned a small funeral at Valley View Cemetery. My family, her friends, and a few neighbors were invited to her house after for a reception. Her yard was filled with roses and sunflowers, her favorite. We played soft gospel music from a Bluetooth speaker. I even made a memory board with old photos. Everyone brought food. It was supposed to be a peaceful goodbye. I stood in front of the crowd, barely holding it together, sharing stories about Doris. That's when I heard it. At first I thought it was someone's phone. But no. The sound got louder. A heavy bass thump shook the ground. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. The song blared so loud that my speech was drowned out. Confused faces turned toward the street. I walked fast to the front yard. That's when I saw him. Brent. Brent had moved next door 2 years before. From the start, he acted like he owned the neighborhood. His truck took up half the street. His friends left beer bottles on my lawn. He let his pit bulls crap on my grass and never picked it up. I reported him once for shooting off fireworks in the middle of wildfire season. Nothing ever stuck. He stood next to his big red Dodge Ram with a black loudspeaker mounted on the roof. He leaned on the door, puffing his vape, watching us like we were part of a reality show. I walked over, furious. "Brent! Shut it off! We're holding a funeral reception for my grandmother." He laughed. I'll never forget the words he said. "Grief is overrated, bro. People need to stop being so dramatic. Life's for the living." I stood there stunned. The song blasted on. My daughter covered her ears crying. My Aunt Margaret shook her head and sobbed. Elderly friends of Doris stood frozen, mouths open. I tried reason. "Please, just stop. We're saying goodbye to someone we loved." Brent took another hit from his vape and shrugged. "Not my problem. You people act like the world ends because some old lady died." I felt my fists clench. I wanted to smash his speaker right there. But I remembered Doris's voice. Never give them the satisfaction. Revenge must be smart. I went back to the backyard humiliated. Everyone tried to keep the reception going, but the mood was shattered. People left early. I sat alone afterward staring at the dead flowers on the table, seething. That night I couldn't sleep. My hands shook. I wanted to key his truck, flatten his tires, report him to animal control. But no. I thought of something better. The next morning I grabbed my flash drive. My front porch camera had caught everything. Brent standing with his loudspeaker. His face, his truck, the plates, the smirk, the vaping. I spent hours sending emails. News stations, social media pages, anyone local with influence. I titled the video file, "Disrespectful Neighbor Blasts Music Over Funeral Reception." Most ignored me. But 2 days later, a reporter from KGW News called. Sarah Tran? She wanted an interview. I invited her over. She filmed me standing by my grandmother's empty rose bushes. My voice cracked as I told the story. I handed over the footage. The segment aired at 6 p.m. 2 minutes of pure public shaming. They didn't name Brent directly, but the truck plates were visible, and the reporter said, "Local outdoor gear company manager." The internet exploded. The clips spread fast. Facebook groups. Reddit. Nextdoor. Comments poured in. "Who does this? Find out where he works. His employer better do something." And they did. Brent worked at Cascadia Trails in Portland, a popular outdoor gear store. People bombarded their email and Yelp page. Calls came in nonstop. The next Friday, I looked outside and saw Brent pacing in his driveway, red-faced, phone glued to his ear. His usual smug look was gone. My neighbor Martha walked by and whispered to me, "I heard they fired him." That was the start. He disappeared for 2 weeks. When he returned, no more parties. No speeding. No friends over. He walked with his head down. Even his pit bulls were quiet. I didn't speak to him again. I didn't need to. My grandmother got the last word without me lifting a finger. 2 weeks of silence passed. It felt too easy. I thought Brent had learned. I thought the shame and job loss broke him. I was wrong. One night, about 3 a.m., I was woken up by loud revving outside. I peeked out the blinds. There was Brent, drunk or high, spinning donuts in his front yard with that same red Dodge Ram. Dirt and grass flew everywhere. My headlights got hit with mud. My daughter's bike, left out by mistake, got smashed under the back tire. I stormed out in my sweatpants. "Brent!" "What the hell?" He leaned out the window, eyes bloodshot. "You ruined my life, you piece of crap. You happy now?" I clenched my jaw. My hands shook. I wanted to drag him out of the truck. Instead, I pulled out my phone and hit record. "You're drunk. You're destroying property. I'm calling the cops." He peeled out of the yard, almost hitting my mailbox, and sped off into the dark. The next morning, I walked the property. Deep tire ruts everywhere. My daughter's pink bike was twisted beyond repair. I took photos of everything. My neighbor, Mr. Perez, an old retired Marine, saw me shaking my head. "He's gonna get what's coming," Mr. Perez said. I filed a police report. I sent them my video and photos. They told me they'd look into it. I knew that meant nothing. Brent always skated by. But this time was different. 2 days later, a sheriff's deputy knocked on my door. "We had a noise complaint from multiple neighbors. When we ran the plates from your footage, we found Brent has prior reckless driving warnings. We're charging him with property damage and reckless endangerment." I felt my chest loosen for the first time in weeks. The same day Brent's truck was impounded. I watched from my window as the tow driver hooked it up. Brent stood outside in socks and sweatpants, screaming into his phone. His dogs barked wildly. A week later, another neighbor, Rachel, from 2 houses down, knocked on my door. "We're taking him to court," she said. "He backed into my fence last month and never paid." "You in?" "I'm in," I said. A group of us met at Rachel's house. Mr. Perez, Martha, Rachel, me. We pooled our evidence. Fence damage, tire ruts, photos, police reports. Rachel's cousin was a lawyer and offered to help us file a civil lawsuit for damages and harassment. We served Brent the papers a week later. I stood on my porch sipping coffee and watched the process server hand him the envelope. Brent read it, face turning white then red. He crumpled the paper and threw it onto the ground. "You people are harassing me!" he yelled across the street. Nobody answered. We just stared. He stormed back inside and slammed the door so hard it rattled. The next few weeks were bliss. Total quiet. Brent's lights stayed off most nights. His friends stopped visiting. Even his dogs barely barked anymore. But I knew it wasn't over yet. People like Brent don't go down without trying to drag others with them. Sure enough, one night around 11 p.m., I heard a weird popping noise. I stepped outside. My tires. All 4 of them slashed. I knew instantly who did it. I called the police again. They took another report but said without camera proof, they couldn't charge anyone. That pushed me over the edge. I spent the next morning installing 4 motion-activated security cameras around my property. I upgraded my floodlights. Mr. Perez helped me mount one high up on the street-facing corner of my roof. I hope the bastard tries again, Mr. Perez growled. The trap was set. 3 nights later, just after 2 a.m., the motion alert on my phone woke me up. I grabbed it and checked the live feed. There he was. Brent. Hoodie pulled over his head, crouched by my truck with a knife in hand. I dialed 911. My voice shook. My neighbor is slashing my tires. I have him on camera right now. The operator told me to stay inside and wait. Within minutes, the street lit up with blue and red flashing lights. I stood behind my curtain, watching Brent freeze like a deer in headlights as 2 officers jumped out and tackled him. They cuffed him right there on my lawn. The next morning, a detective called. We recovered the knife and matched his shoe prints to the tire slashings. We're charging him with felony vandalism and probation violation. Probation violation? Turns out Brent had a record I never knew about. DUIs, disorderly conduct, even a bar fight 2 towns over. Word spread fast. The local news picked it up again. Disgraced neighbor arrested after tire slashing incident. They replayed the funeral footage from months earlier. His face, his name, his truck, all over the screen. This time, Cascadia Trails issued a full statement disowning any connection to Brent. His old friends bailed on him. His dogs were taken by animal control after he failed to care for them properly. We moved forward with the civil lawsuit. Brent showed up in court looking like a ghost. Gaunt, hollow-eyed, slumped in an ill-fitting suit. The judge didn't hold back. You've terrorized this neighborhood for months. You've shown 0 remorse. Brent was ordered to pay over $12,000 in damages. Rachel got her fence paid for. Mr. Perez got his property repairs. I got money for my daughter's bike, my tires, and legal fees. The last time I ever saw Brent was 2 days later. A beat-up U-Haul sat in his driveway. He loaded what little he had left. He didn't look at anyone. Didn't say goodbye. I watched from my porch as he pulled away, shrinking into the distance. The neighborhood stayed quiet that night. I stood in my backyard under the porch light, looking at Doris's old rose bush. I whispered, "You were right, Grandma." Sometimes the best revenge is cold and legal. It's been almost a year. Brent never came back. Our street is peaceful again. I still miss Doris every day, but I know she would have approved of how I handled it. The neighborhood even got together and replanted her favorite sunflowers along the fence line. Sometimes justice takes a little time. But when it comes, it's worth every second.